Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us, our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Elridge. I'm Lorna Virgilla, Hispanic Public Information Officer, and joining us today is Dr. Keisha Davis, the county's health officer, Dr. James Bridgers, who is the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as Nick Agustin, Assistant Chief, Montgomery County Police Department. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks again for being here. We're experiencing another hot week, and multiple county agencies are working to assist with people in need, specifically folks who are the most vulnerable, particularly our aging and our unhoused individuals. We've been encouraging anyone who doesn't have access to an air conditioner to utilize our libraries, our recreation centers, as well as our shopping malls if needed to get out of the heat. I want to thank all of our county employees who are out there working in this heat right now. We have inspectors, recreation staff, road crews, and all of our first responders dealing with this heat while doing their job. I hope everyone stays hydrated and takes breaks when they need to. And speaking of first responders, I'm glad to have Assistant Chief Nicholas Augustine join me today to talk about some of the upcoming community engagement efforts. But before we begin, I just want to echo the comments of the council president over the week and express appreciation to the 3rd District police officers who recently prevented a suicide attempt from a parking garage. Both the officer and the individual were hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries, and the officer has been treated and released. This could have ended really badly if it wasn't for the action of the officers, and mental health problems can lead to tragic incidents in an instant. I think, we've seen that often enough. If you're struggling to cope, or if you know somebody who's struggling to cope, please encourage that person to text 988 for assistance with mental health crises. These services are available. They can be a real help to people, but they're not helpful if people don't use them. So please be aware of that number. And if you know somebody who needs help, let them know they can call. This incident also is a reminder that our police officers are not just police officers. They're also called upon to be social workers. They need to understand the law as well as a lawyer. They have to practice mediation and de-escalation techniques as well as a professional mediator or a therapist. And they're expected to be community ambassadors who work with and respect the residents they serve. This is a tough job, and it's a multi-faceted job, and I don't think we always think about all the things we ask our officers to do. I've said repeatedly over my 6 years as county executive about how good a reputation MCPD has in this county and throughout our region, and I think that's because they're engaged, they listen, and they care about what's going on in our communities. And that gets highlighted, especially with events like next week's National Night Out. National Night Out is Tuesday, August 5th. It's an opportunity to meet with law enforcement and first responders who serve us. It's one of the busiest nights of the year with community groups, county departments, and neighborhood activists using the night to promote safety and unity. There are over 24 events happening in communities from Kentlands to the Caulfield's Community Center to the East County Regional Services Center to Almy. So the events are all over the place. Please feel free to come out, meet your officers, meet folks from our fire department as well, and meet other county agencies who are present at these events to just provide another opportunity to have interactions with our county residents. We have a lot to celebrate in 2025. After seeing 3 consecutive years of rising crime through 2023, we saw a 7% drop in 2024, and so far this year, we're down 13% in overall crime from the same period last year. That's good news, but we're not going to stop looking for more ways to continue to decrease crime. It's not like we've achieved our goal. Our goal is to reduce it as low as we can get it, and we're going to continue to work to do that. I want to thank MCPD for achieving and sustaining these decreases while also dealing with significant department vacancies. The department has implemented about 85% of the recommendations that were outlined in the Reimagining Public Safety initiative that we first started tracking back in 2021. Another 11% of those recommendations made by the consultants after an independent review of the department are in the process of being implemented now. Within the last 18 months, there have been over 1 million calls to 911 for help. That keeps our officers busy, but we're also strategic in the ways we use technology to help our department cover such a large jurisdiction. We've launched the Real-Time Intelligence Center, which allows analysts to collect helpful information so it can be used by our officers in real time to respond to a situation. Our drone as a first responder program continues to expand and help more of our residents and officers in emergency and non-emergency situations. We also have our community to thank for helping us by granting us limited access when requested to more than 1,600 cameras that have been mounted in neighborhoods across the county for crime prevention purposes. This cooperation with our residents and businesses is really, really helpful because I think you read more than one story where an event has been captured on somebody's Ring camera and it helps identify the culprits, the vehicles they're driving, what they're wearing. And so it's an important thing, and it's great to have residents sharing in this effort to make sure we can get as much information about who's committing crimes as is possible. As compared to last year, property theft is down 13%, and motor vehicle thefts are down 25%. However, some crimes happen like clockwork. We see a rash of car break-ins every summer, and this summer is no exception. So please remind your audience not to leave valuables in their cars. Unfortunately, the DC region has been popular with car theft rings over the last few years, justifying our purchase of more license plate readers to help us identify stolen cars in our area, because they often use a stolen car to commit a crime. That makes much more sense than using your own car to commit a crime if the car gets identified. So having these cameras has helped us pick up on cars that are driving the streets by people who've stolen them and possibly looking for more opportunities. And they are a very useful tool for us to have in our arsenal here. DUIs are another crime that rise with the season. This is one of those seasons. We have more officers on the road right now that are looking for signs of intoxicated drivers. The special enforcement began around Memorial Day and has resulted in more than 900 traffic stops and 127 DUI arrests. To talk more about these efforts, I'm going to turn this over now to Assistant Chief Nicholas Augustine. And thanks for being here.
Thank you, County Executive. On Tuesday, August 5th, communities across the country will take part in National Night Out. It's a nationwide initiative to promote police-community partnership and neighborhood unity. It's an evening where residents step outside, turn on their porch lights, and gather with neighbors and local law enforcement to strengthen the relationship that help make communities safer. National Night Out is not about just block parties. It's about building trust, having conversations, and showing that we're united in keeping our neighborhoods safe. When residents know their neighbors and know the officers who serve them, it leads to better communication, quicker problem solving, and stronger communities overall. Our department is proud to support and attend over 20 events across the county this upcoming National Night Out. You'll see patrol officers, specialty units, public safety partners, and local leaders all coming together, not in a response to a crisis, but to connect. And we invite everyone to take part. Thefts from auto and auto parts have historically been a crime affecting all parts of our county. So far in 2025, there have been over 2,800 thefts from autos across the county. This crime cannot be solved alone by the police department. We need the community's help. We remind everyone to lock up every time, even when parked at home. Don't leave valuables in sight. Remove key fobs and spare keys. Park smart. Choose well-lit, busy areas, and avoid isolated lots and dark streets when possible. Also, don't leave your car running unattended. Montgomery County Police will continue to deploy extra patrols in areas experiencing higher rates of auto-related crimes and provide community alerts through social media and community meetings to keep you informed of patterns or suspect descriptions. Also, a program that we've had now for a couple of years, we invite the community to participate in our Etch and Catch program. Etch and Catch provides free etching of catalytic converters. We have an Etch and Catch event coming up soon on August 17th from 8 to 12 at Fitzgerald Subaru and Hyundai in North Bethesda. You can visit our social media sites to how to register, or you can contact our 2nd District station at 240-773-8727. We also want to remind the community about our security camera rebate program. This program is available to businesses and residents within Montgomery County for a reimbursement of up to $250 for applicable security camera. The applicant purchases the camera first, then applies for the reimbursement. So far, there have been a total of 743 participants. You can also apply through our county police website. In 2024, 24% of the fatal collisions investigated by Montgomery County Police, the driver was impaired by alcohol and/or drugs. This summer, Montgomery County Police launched the Summer DUI Task Force. After 9 weeks, officers conducted over 950 traffic stops, which led to 134 impaired driving arrests. This is a great combined effort with our allied agency partners, to include the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Maryland National Capital Park Police, Maryland State Police, and the Maryland Transportation Authority Police. Montgomery County Police prioritizes building relationships with all community members. Specifically, we host a variety of community engagement events for our Latino community, and this includes our Hispanic Community Academy, which is a once-a-week program for 14 weeks for participants to learn about the Montgomery County Police Department, to include our policy, procedures, and operations. We also host a monthly virtual coffee with a cop with our Latino liaison. This is a 1-hour bilingual conversation that allows our residents to meet and speak with officers, discuss community safety topics, and learn about the department initiatives and available resources. And another initiative we have is our Latino Liaison Committee, which meets monthly on the third Thursday. The meetings are open to the public, both in person and via Zoom, and provides an opportunity for community members to ask questions, share concerns, and access information about resources available both through Montgomery County government and nonprofit organizations. As we look ahead to National Night Out and the many initiatives underway, our message is clear. Public safety is a shared responsibility. From turning on porch lights and connecting with neighbors, to taking preventive steps against auto theft and impaired driving, to participating in programs that foster transparency and trust. Every action makes a difference. The Montgomery County Police Department is committed to working together with our diverse communities, not only in times of crisis, but in everyday moments that build connection, confidence, and collective strength. We encourage everyone to get involved, stay informed, and continue being active partners in keeping Montgomery County safe and united. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Chief. Members of the media, if you have any questions for Assistant Chief Augustine at this time. Suzanne Pollack, Montgomery Community Media, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Fine, thanks. Assistant Chief, I was wondering, have you noticed any less reporting or calls or anything different since the threat of ICE, and have people been less cooperative? I just wondered if you noticed anything.
Sure. Thank you for that question. We have not noticed, a difference in call volumes or cooperation with the community. I really think that is due to our proactive outreach to the community. In our policies about our interaction with federal authorities. So having that message out there, providing it on social media, building that level of trust over many years that we've had policies about immigration enforcement, but really emphasizing that to our community and reassuring them when they contact us, and as well as other nonprofits that contact us about immigration enforcement, we're truthful about it and let them know what involvement Montgomery County Police have, which is none, but also let them know whether it was Montgomery County Police involved in a separate type of incident or whether or not it was immigration enforcement by a federal authority.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Members of the media, any other questions for the Assistant Chief this afternoon? No more questions? Well, Assistant Chief, thank you so much for joining us today. You can remain on the media briefing or you can depart if you need to. Mr. County Executive.
So thank you, Assistant Chief Augustine, for being here today. And I appreciate always the police coming on and helping us talk to the community about what efforts we're making. I also want to invite everyone to promote, cover, and encourage National Night Out participation next Tuesday, August 5th. It really is a great opportunity to meet the men and women, not just in the police department and fire department, but across our whole county government. And some events are registered at a website that is natw.org, the National Night Out website, but you may find events popping up in social media or through a flyer or by word of mouth. So there's lots of stuff going on, plenty of opportunities for people to go out and meet some of our first responders, and hopefully people will take advantage of that. In the last month or so, the county's worked with its partners to help us close to help us add close to 400 affordable housing units to the county's supply. First, there was the Allium Place in Wheaton. We opened up nearly 200 units, and this week we're celebrating the opening of close to 200 units in the residences at Forest Glen. This complex, built by MHP and some of our other great partners, is for the residents earning less than 60% of area median income. In many cases, when a new apartment complex is approved, developers are required to set aside 15% of the units as affordable. This project is like the Allium, is a project where almost everything, 100% of the units, are considered affordable. This is a win for working families, teachers, healthcare workers, and retail industry workers. When we devote public money to housing, this is what we should be trying to accomplish. We want Montgomery County to be enjoyed by people of all income levels, not be priced out of living here. This is far from the last effort to create more affordable housing either. The Chimes of North Bethesda will create another 163 affordable units in the near future. We've also committed tens of millions of dollars over the next few years to help develop a multifaceted project in Wheaton that will create 39 townhomes and 320 multifamily units, as well as new office space and the Cultural and Arts Center along Georgia Avenue. We're also getting money from the state to help support the start of this project, and we're in the planning stage, but it won't be long before construction and the grand opening associated with this project as well. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, let's celebrate what we've accomplished. Forest Glen is modern, it is dignified, and allows more of our neighbors to remain right here in the community. I want to thank MHP and the nonprofits like them that worry about everyone being able to find a place to call home in Montgomery County. MHP was able to use a federal tax break obtained through the state to help make the math work on this project. I want to thank State Housing Secretary Jake Day for coming down for the event. They've been great partners for us, and I'm always happy when they show up for things in Montgomery County. And speaking of math, I continue to appreciate the production of our housing team led by Dr. Bruton. They continue to deliver these projects efficiently and create more affordable housing units as quickly as we can. They help us spend our limited resources wisely. Sometimes it's hard to see old buildings go, and this building rose on the bones of a 72-unit apartment that had fallen into serious disrepair. But in this case, the condition of the complex allowed us to justify building something new and designing more units than were there before. I consider this a great victory for our community and the people who are going to call this home, and they're all within walking distance of the metro station, along several bus lines and next to a state highway. It's a perfect place for families to live, thrive, and stay for a long time. And to give you some perspective on the county's situation with affordable housing, I want to share from the County Preservation Study by Park and Planning. This chart shows the number of naturally occurring affordable housing units that existed in 2000 and where we're projected to be by 2030. This is a pretty alarming graph. We had about 45,000 naturally occurring affordable housing units. Naturally occurring means this was just the rent on the unit. There was no county subsidy. These weren't part of a special program. They hadn't been created for a particular purpose. This was just housing that was affordable in the community to people with lower incomes. By 2020, that number had dropped below 25,000. It was closing in on 20,000. And now the projection for 2030 is that we might have as few as 7,000 units left and 11,000 on the high side. So by 2030, the county will have lost over 30,000 units potentially or more of what used to be affordable housing in this county that required no subsidy. This is an enormous loss of housing, and it's not like the housing got lost. It's still there in some cases, just the rents have gone out of sight. These units were lost basically because we didn't have rent stabilization earlier in the county. We should have done this like DC did years ago. We would have been able to protect these units and to keep them in the affordable supply. Instead, the load falls on the county to figure out how to build more units at a far greater expense than it would have taken to preserve the units that exist. So this is, in a way, a self-inflicted wound. Not paying attention to what we knew the trend was going to be about the loss of the housing has made it very hard for us to keep pace with the affordable housing demands in the county. And a lot of people say, well, this is a lot of new people coming here who need more affordable housing. This is housing we actually had. Had we kept it, a lot of people would have been able to take advantage of this housing without requiring special programs from the county. So there's a cost when you make decisions like the ones we've made in the past, unfortunately. On a brighter note, I want to thank the leaders of X Energy for developing the future of zero emission and doing it here in Montgomery County. The company is a leading developer of advanced small modular nuclear reactors. It uses proprietary fuel technology that's designed to be simplified and modular and deliver reliable zero carbon and affordable energy. It's also designed not to have runaway chain reactions. What used to take an immense power plant that cost billions of dollars to produce, it is hoped that these plants will cost less money and be able to be created on smaller, decentralized sites. And the new small reactors are being designed so they can't have runaway chain reactions that pose the serious threat that exists with older reactors. This innovative approach expands the applications and markets for nuclear technology, driving enhanced safety, lower costs, and faster construction timelines. It is an intelligent way to meet the growing needs for energy-driven artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, it is going to be some years yet before these reactors start coming in line at any scale. So we're going to be going through a period of rapidly increasing energy consumption without a rapid increase in power supply. A key metric that will ultimately going to decide the success of this approach is going to revolve around the final cost of producing electricity, which has been a challenge in older nuclear systems, which have required enormous subsidies and tend to have a negative impact on rate structures, negative in terms of how residents might perceive the price of electricity. So there's a lot of hope that these newer, smaller reactors are going to be able to produce energy at a competitive price with other forms of clean energy today. X Energy just announced that it's collected $700 million in financing from companies like Amazon and institutions like the University of Michigan. They're investing some of that money here in reactor design and licensing, and then finishing the first phase of a fuel fabrication facility in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The company's headquarters remain in Gaithersburg, even as it expands its vision and its footprint. X Energy currently operates from 2 spaces in Rockville, is consolidating its headquarters to a 125 square foot facility at 9801 Washington Boulevard in Gaithersburg. X Energy will retain its 260 full-time employees at this new site, with plans to create at least 525 new jobs over the next 6 years. The Department of Commerce in Maryland is working to approve 2 conditional loans totaling $2.35 million through the Advantage Maryland program. Montgomery County is providing up to $500,000 through the Job Creation Fund program and up to $150,000 through its Move Grant program. The company is also eligible for other state and local tax credits. So these are smart investments between the county and the state, bringing hundreds of good-paying jobs, while also strengthening our region as a center of innovation. And it fits with what one of the things has been one of our major goals. One of the things that's been important to me is not just building on the life sciences, but also diversifying our county into things like light manufacturing and AI research, so that we're not just dependent on a single industry. We, for a long time, were totally dependent on the feds, more or less, for the economy, and didn't pay much attention to local business because the federal hiring seemed to be secure and unchanging and pretty much recession-proof. Well, those days are gone, and we certainly need to continue to do the work that's going to be necessary to diversify our economy. This is another good example of the kind of project we can bring to Montgomery County. In the world of really bad news, I would say the EPA is under the Trump administration, I would say, has struck again. Right now, the Trump administration's EPA is moving to eliminate the federal government's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act. This is a direct attack on decades of environmental progress. With this policy change, they're throwing out the 2009 endangerment finding, which is the legal foundation that lets the federal government regulate dangerous pollutants like methane, carbon dioxide from power plants, vehicles, and other industry. I will point out there's been no research done by this strange group of people. They indicate that there are not dangerous effects for human beings that come from methane and carbon dioxide, as well as other pollutants that come out of power plants. With that finding, the EPA is not going to be able to do its job. That job is protecting us from carbon pollution that's heating up our planet, poisoning our air, and making our weather more extreme and dangerous. Supreme Court decided back in 2007 that the EPA can regulate these pollutants under the Clean Air Act as long as they were a danger to human health and the environment. So with absolutely no evidence whatsoever, the EPA is now saying the climate pollution isn't a danger, and they don't need to regulate it anymore. For example, vehicles sold in Maryland overall have to be made to emit less carbon pollution because of the clean air regulations. The cars you buy could belch more carbon pollution if the Trump administration proposal succeeds. And when you tag on to that, his whole effort to not have wind power and not have electric cars only adds to the amount of pollution that's likely to be going into the atmosphere. So we're likely to get sicker. It's likely to endanger our health more. It's likely to bring back the days of code red and high levels of pollution in this hot summer in the DC area. All of this being done with no scientific basis at all. This policy announcement came as we were experiencing the consequences of climate change through record heat, massive floods, wildfires, and wild storms made worse by warmer oceans. We're witnessing how a warming planet impacts our weather pretty directly, and ignoring the measures to keep it from getting worse is only going to mean that people are going to wind up paying the price for this. The EPA administrator even said this is the, quote, most consequential day of deregulation. I would be ashamed of that if I was the EPA administrator. I would not be celebrating exposing the American people to increasing levels of pollution and dangerous chemicals as a good thing. It's actually a bad thing. And they mock the safety rails put in place over the last 15 years, and they're calling it the climate change religion. Any fool can look at the weather patterns and what's happening globally, not just around here, over the last decade, and see what's happening. Apparently, I can't say any fool, because apparently there are a group of fools who don't want to see what's happening, but that's just willful ignorance. There's no way you could ignore the melting of the poles and the extreme weather changes that have occurred and act like there's no danger from climate change. So it appears to me these are the folks who are following the reckless ideology. And they're not looking for public health or the environment. They're looking out to score political points at the expense of our air, our water, and our future. And I'm really disappointed in the companies that have been regulated. They know what they've been mandated to take out of the environment and to make the air safer. It's not like they have no idea what this is going to mean. This is going to make them more profitable, and it's going to make people sicker. And the idea that the companies given the opportunity to go back to making people sicker, we're going to celebrate the decision that'll make that possible, is a really sad day in society. We have to stand up to this, because if it's not us, the planet our children see when they have children and grandchildren may not be livable. It's certainly not going to be livable in the way we're used to it. This is really about whether the government still works for the people or if it only works for the polluters and for the corporate behemoths. We can still use our voice to organize. Organizing is absolutely necessary. We have to be heard, and we have to find ways to reverse these insane policies before it's too late. Waiting to get rid of Trump and his kind after 4 years is not going to do it. And the dismantling of all these programs is going to make it even harder to put back together should the day come when we no longer have to live under this kind of regime. Before opening up to your questions, I'd like to give my health team a chance to share any updates they have, hopefully on brighter notes.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Nothing additional at this time. I do want to echo your concern for our vulnerable populations in this heat. I think the heat wave is going to turn a corner tomorrow and into this weekend, but we continue to hear concerns about folks and have even seen some heat-related deaths. So want to make sure that we are checking on all of our vulnerable residents of all ages.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. The only thing I would add, Mr. County Executive, is that in addition to our 988, our suicide intervention assistance support mechanism, we also have our crises, Montgomery County Crises Center. That number is 240-777-4000. And should individuals want to have in-person support, there is a walk-in services provided. The last thing I will state is that all the information that we have within the Department of Health and Human Services to support any health and human service needs, especially mental health, will be available during the National Night Out next week. So I encourage folks to come on out and participate and get information from our tables. All of our service areas will be there, from our aging and disability services to our behavioral health crisis services, our public health services, and Dr. Davis and Dr. Ashford's team will be there, as well as our children, youth, and families. So I'll end with that and turn it back over to you, Lorna.
Thank you very much, doctors. Members of the media, if you have any questions regarding the topics addressed, and I see Suzanne again, go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah.
You need to unmute. I think you muted yourself again. There you go.
Dr. Davis, could you be more specific? You said some heat-related deaths have happened in the county. Is that in, do you know numbers and places, that kind of thing?
I can't share numbers and places. The numbers are very small, less than a handful of folks, and we don't report numbers when it's less than 10. It's well less than 10. But what I can share is that the deaths that we have seen have been at the extremes of age, the very young and the very old, and so we want to make sure that we are looking out for those folks. I can also share that we also have ER data that looks at ER visits that are related to heat exposure. And what we see is, while the deaths are at the extremes, and we certainly see a number of visits at the extremes of age in the ER, the vast majority are those who are in that probably 20 to 50-year-old age range, because those are the ones who are outside working in the heat. And so the message for heat really extends to everybody. If you are feeling overheated, you want to make sure that you are going inside. Don't wait until you feel thirsty to get something to drink. Keep water nearby. Keeping cooling things such as wet rags or towels, handheld fans and sprays and mist to help keep cool in the hot weather.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne and Dr. Davis. Jeannie Bixby with us today. Good afternoon, Jeannie.
Good afternoon, Lorna. Good afternoon, Mark. Yesterday, the council had a briefing about a pilot program involving the parking garage robot, and the council members had asked for a pause to that program because they're saying that they were not aware of it until it was in local news reports. Mark, I was wondering if you could share, were you aware of this program before the media reported on it, and what are your thoughts on the surveillance concerns?
I wasn't aware until I saw the story also. They weren't supposed to be, I guess they had the bot to play with and to see what they could get it to do. And that was what they were in the process, of evaluating. And I would have heard about it had they decided to go forward with it. I'm not overly worried about the surveillance concerns. And I think the bot could be really important in terms of protecting people and protecting vehicles in garages, from theft. So I would be interested to see what we can do to address the concerns that people have about the bots, but I don't think they're inherently going to violate people's security or civil liberties. I think we made, adjustments how we do our cameras with our drones. Hopefully we can address their concerns here too.
Gotcha. Some council members brought up yesterday some concerns about liability, like the robot, it appears, moves kind of slow, could potentially crash into vehicles. Are you concerned about that aspect of it?
Well, I mean, that's just somebody's appraisal of what little they saw. I think I would be more interested in what kind of testing the company's done. I'm sure that this company, which is selling these robots, has tested them in live situations with vehicles and things. And we should certainly be able to get crash information for them or reliability information from the company. I don't think they'd be putting this out if there was a risk that this was going to cost the county a ton of money on accidents caused by the robot. So, I appreciate the concern. Hopefully we'll be able to address the answer.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Members of the media, any additional questions for the county executive and health officials this afternoon? No more questions? Oh, Suzanne, there you are again. Go ahead.
You're right. I was just wondering, have we seen an uptick in tick problems?
I'd ask my health officer that.
Yeah.
So we have seen an increased number of tick-reported illnesses and tick bites in the emergency room, and that is true across the region. So Maryland is seeing that, and really kind of in the DMV, we're seeing that increase in the area. This year seems to be a higher tick year. We're not exactly sure why. Sometimes that can just be cyclical. I'm not sure if that's something in the environment, if it's the life cycle of the ticks, but we are seeing a little bit more of that. We do encourage folks to wear long pants and long sleeves, light clothing to help protect, and to really be mindful if they have been out and about hiking or in the woods, to be careful about removing clothing and doing checks for ticks. Lyme disease is the thing that we hear about the most, but there are other, and that's transmitted by the deer tick, but there are other diseases that can be carried by ticks, some things like ehrlichiosis and babesiosis, that we also check for and remain concerned about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne and Dr. Davis. Members of the media, any additional questions this afternoon? No more questions? Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.